You are now watching the True Mets Talk podcast live stream. We will be going live shortly. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Shallow right field, stumbling start for Stewart. It's close to deep left field by Alvarez. He's homered in 4 straight games for the second time in his. He's homered in 4.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy CP, and welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast spring training live stream. I am here joined by my guy, usual suspect, Rob. Rob, how you doing today? I know that you're out and about, but I appreciate you making the stream nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I apologize for the setup. I'm in a car dealership right now, so trying to get in what I can get in on the stream, and let's have a good stream, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have a lot to talk about today, guys. We're going to be talking about the Mets versus Yankees game that we just saw on ESPN's first spring training coverage of the 2024 season. I don't want to talk too much about that coverage because I think we all know how ESPN baseball's broadcast coverage is. But nonetheless, we got an exciting game to talk about. But we'll also be talking about some ins and outs of this Mets team, some news. We'll talk about everything here today. So I appreciate it. As always, before we get into it, make sure you're hitting on that thumbs up button if you're joining us, whether you're in the live stream, in the live chat. By the way, drop those live chat comments. Make sure you're subscribing. And as always, make sure you are just commenting on your thoughts and opinions. And you're to find me on Instagram, YouTube, and X, all that good stuff at CPNYSports. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, Rob, we have a 5-4 win by our New York Mets today. Not sure how much of the game you actually caught, but I have some stats up here. We have a box score both on the pitching and the offensive side. Not sure exactly what you want to talk about. Were you able to keep up with this game over there in that car dealership?
Yeah, I watched about a few innings with Tyler McGill. I saw him, his miles per hours were up a little bit, which was nice to see, which is important. And again, he's actually been killing it so far in spring, so it's nice to see. I didn't see the rest of the stuff with Lindor and Beatty's big knock, but other than that, besides Miguel looking good, that's as much as I saw at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see here on your screen, 3 innings pitched, scoreless, 6 strikeouts for Tyler McGill over those 3 innings pitched, 2 walks, no earned runs. The changeup was working pretty efficiently for a couple strikeouts. He had the curveball working as well. And in that first inning, he was able to get around a leadoff walk and strike out a couple batters. So he looked good all in all. That is his second outing in a row with 3 scoreless innings. And we talk about this last spot in the rotation, and we could even be talking about a opening day starter here in Tyler McGill if you want to take it that far. How do you assess the importance of Tyler McGill right now? And do you think that he pretty much has this job on lock after what we've seen the last couple of outings from him?
Yeah, I said it in his first start that I think that he was the favorite right away, especially if the Mets don't bring in another pitcher. I think he has the experience, right? He had 2 opening days in a row. And why not make it a third, right? He has that experience. He's a bulldog on the mound. He doesn't have the best stuff, but listen, he's good enough where I feel confident he can give you 5 innings, 2 runs in the first game. I think he can get that. You see how nasty his stuff is when it's on, and just like any other pitcher, when he's not on, he's a little wild around the plate. So I think that right now, if you tell me Tyler McGill is the opening day starter, I'll sign up for it. Why not, right? It's 2024, so I might as well go crazy with the Mets.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, right? Because we were talking about Jose Quintana, we were talking about Luis Severino, but the guy who's been doing this the last 2 seasons and has benefited from those injuries has been Tyler McGill. So why not a third year? Just want to take a moment to shout out some people in the chat here. Darren Rivera in the chat, Riley Bannon or Rylan Bannon looks good. He says, appreciate you, Darren, member of the channel. And by the way, guys, if you are not joined to the channel memberships, make sure you go ahead and do so. Darren, I owe you a t-shirt. Make sure you go ahead and send me the info where to send it, and you all can get a t-shirt as well. Make sure you join into the channel. I definitely appreciate it. Ethan was in the chat. He was at the actual game today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, according to his X account. Great vibes over there in Port St. Lucie. And I'm jealous. I'm absolutely jealous. So shout out to Ethan. We got Kenny in the chat as well. And we got Vientos, Vincent saying Vientos he wants to see more from. So I appreciate everyone in the chat. But yeah, like I said, Tyler McGill, it's great to see all of these things from Tyler McGill. This is something that we are waiting for him to turn that corner and to turn the next page. And the same thing can be said for Drew Smith. And by the way, guys, I understand the circumstances of the stream. Rob is out and about. I'm still in the hotel room, as you can see in the background. So make sure you all keep telling me if my audio sounds good. If I cut out and the stream cuts out, then you all know what happened. The Wi-Fi can be pretty shaky, but we are back to usual business here on the channel this week. As I am traveling home today. So don't make no mistake about it. There'll be more content coming out. But yeah, Drew Smith also pitched another inning. I believe he gave up a walk as well. One strikeout there. Listen, Rob, we need to have a discussion here as it pertains to who we saw today in the bullpen, especially in that front end bullpen spots, because we know we're going to see our Adam Ottavinos. We know we're going to see our Brooks Raley's, our Edwin Diaz's. What are we going to see from Drew Smith, but also Drew Smith's direct competitors, one being Mr. Sean Reed-Foley, who looked fantastic today, 97 on the gun, 3 strikeouts, and 1 scoreless inning pitched. What are you kind of gathering here about this sort of competition in the front of the bullpen and maybe not so much the back end, because we know what we're going to be getting out of those guys?
Yeah, I think Drew Smith's got a lot of work to do, to be honest with you. I don't think he has a starting bullpen job. Sean Foley is a guy that the Mets have been trying to put in this bullpen for years now, and he looked outstanding today. So I do think that Smith, with all these unfortunate walks that he loves to give up and that slider that he likes to hang, he's got to prove a lot. I don't think he has a spot at the moment, and we talked about it in the roster projections. 2 or 3 roster spots in the bullpen are probably available in that middle of the rotation bullpen area. So I do think that Drew Smith, they love his stuff. It's obvious. They could have cut him. They could have just got rid of him by now. But he's a Stearns type of guy. He throws hard. He has nasty stuff. He just has to harness it. But Drew Smith right now, if it's up to me, I wouldn't put him on the roster. But I think the Mets, the way they're probably going about it right now, he's a electric arm. I think they're going to put him on the roster, unfortunately.
I think so too, but the thing is with Drew Smith, if he does get put on the opening day roster, how short is his leash going to be? Because we see these guys and they're succeeding. Sean Reed-Foley probably is a long shot to make that opening day bullpen, but knowing that you have him directly behind Drew Smith in case Drew Smith starts slipping up. Listen, I agree with you. I don't think the Mets are in any position to let go of Drew Smith right now, given that he is the longest tenured Mets pitcher on this roster right now, first and foremost, which is crazy to even think about, but also just the stuff that he possesses. And we've talked about it time and time again. It's not about Drew Smith's stuff. His fastball velocity and the movement on his off-speed pitches really isn't the issue. It's about location with him. It's about location, and he just hasn't been able to hone it in. So I like what David Stearns has done to cook up this bullpen, and not only the face value bullpen guys that we're going to be seeing, but these guys like Sean Reed-Foley, who also is a mainstay. We saw him last year with the New York Mets, and also Mr. Austin Adams, who got in the game today, pitched a scoreless inning, and has put together an impressive spring so far. So yeah, absolutely. I got no idea how it's going to shake out. And you see Rob here, he is at the dealership. Like I said, I don't want to make sure you are talking. If you're talking to somebody, go ahead. I'm going to take it over. But what'd you think of Austin Adams? Did you get to see him pitch? But he's been impressing a little bit so far this spring training. What do you think of Austin Adams so far?
Yeah, I think he's the type of guy that can take Drew Smith's spot automatically. I'm sorry if I sound a little distorted right now, but I am walking to the other side of the dealership. So I'm in the New York traffic right now, walking around. So yeah, I like Austin Adams a lot. He's another guy that everybody laughed at, that David Stearns got 47 different relievers contracts. He's the type of guy who's looked good, just like Sean Reed-Foley. So why not? I'd say it this way: give me anybody that has pitched well in spring, and if they win that competition, I'm all for it, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good that we just have options at this point, right? We have options in this bullpen. And that's something that David Stearns doesn't get enough credit for with signings like Austin Adams and signings like Yohan Ramirez, who had a little bit of a shaky outing today at the end, but he did get saved by Bannon, like Darren was saying in the chat, by that diving play and was able to close out the game. We have options now in this bullpen. And I was just surprised to see 97 on the gun from Sean Reed-Foley. So that was great to see. These guys are coming out swinging and they're coming out electric. And while we're on the discussion of bullpen, by the way, we did get an update from Carlos Mendoza mid-game talking about Edwin Diaz pitching a perfect simulation inning today, and he did strike out Jet Williams as part of that live BP. So it's good to see Edwin Diaz starting to ramp up. I believe it was 1 inning pitched for him today in the simulation game and 14 pitches overall. So it's nice to see that he's ramping up. Hopefully we get everybody up and going. We're getting to this point of spring training where we're starting to see guys get extended, right? Tyler McGill is going multiple innings. These starters, especially in the offense, who will shift over here towards next they're going extended at bats. You see Vientos Beatty going Vientos 0 for 3, Beatty 1 for 2 with the walk today. Even Harrison Bader, who by the way made his debut today. What do you make of these extended looks for this Mets team as we shift over a little bit into the offensive side of what we saw today?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people have surprised me, to be honest with you. You know, Beta looks pretty good. He looks, I don't know, he just looks like a ball player to me. He stays healthy. I think he's going to be a solid addition for us. But you know, Vientos, Beatty, you know, that competition or quote unquote competition, which will be very interesting. But I think right now Beatty is showing a little bit more than Vientos. Vientos has been struggling with the bat. And I think the big reason why the Mets are looking at Vientos is because of the bat, not necessarily defensively. But, you know, the third base situation is going to be very interesting in the next, 2.5, 3 weeks until opening day. But well, I love everything I've seen from the lineup so far. Alonso has been taking better swings. Nimmo has just got a couple of starts in already, so it's nice to see Beta first game today. He looked good, and I do think if the health is the biggest concern, as we all know with the Mets, if they could stay predominantly healthy, I think they're going to be in great shape because I think this offense can be a 4.5 to 5 runs per ball game, and I think that's more than enough with a fairly above average rotation. I think we should be perfectly fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That is going to be a test, and we'll get into Beatty versus Vientos here in just a second because I do have a dedicated slide to that, and we've been seeing them kind of struggle. They're both hitting 167, so I want to get your take on that. But we do have a couple comments in the chat here. Aaron is checking into the stream. What up, fellas? Bullpen scared me today. Yep, I agree with you. Austin Adams and Drew Smith look great, but you see up here on the screen, Phil Bickford, a guy that I've never been high on, was an innings eater for the Mets last season toward the tail end when they acquired him in that trade from the Dodgers. 1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, got knocked around a little bit. And Yohan Ramirez, who's looked pretty solid so far in spring, had a little bit of shakiness to him in that last inning. But nonetheless, I think Austin Adams and Sean Reed-Foley were the mainstays here in this game of what we wanted to talk about and just give them the props of them looking good. But I definitely agree with you. Phil Bickford, who I do not expect to be in this Mets bullpen come opening day, did absolutely look shaky. We got Ricardo in the chat. What up, Ricardo? I appreciate you checking into the stream. What up, CP and Rob? He says, is there any chance one of Bannon, Zach Short, or Jose Iglesias give Beatty a push at third? This is what I wanted to ask you, Rob. This is a great question that Ricardo brings up here because we've seen Jose Iglesias look pretty solid. Zach Short got another hit today, as did Jose Iglesias. They're flashing the leather on defense, and so is Mr. Bannon over here. Do you think any one of those guys gives Brett Beatty a serious push at third base? Maybe not even opening day, because I think we can both agree the answer to that is probably no. But let's say Brett Beatty struggles in the first month or the first 2 months. Do you think these guys, any one of them, can give Brett Beatty a serious push? What's your answer?
Yeah, Ricardo, that's a great question. And yeah, absolutely. Because what did David Stearns talk about? Run prevention, right? That's what he's talked about. That's the most important thing, according to him, is what he likes is run prevention. If you prevent runs, there's a better chance you're going to win, regardless of how many runs you score per game on the offense. Sorry about the truck rolling past. Yeah, so Iglesias Short, why not? I see it like this. Like I think either Vientos or Beatty are going to get a month. Like you said, probably around the last week of April into May, and I do think he's definitely gonna make a decision. And if those guys are performing somewhat decently offensively, sorry about that, somewhat a little bit better offensively, I think their defense is top notch. So if they can do that, I think that would be I wouldn't mind it, because I think if you don't deserve to be up here, you don't deserve to be on the team. Go back to the minors and figure it out. Nobody deserves a spot on this team besides the core guys. Everybody else should be competing for a job, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That's something that we've been talking about all offseason, so we'll see how it shakes out. I do think that we are going to see Brett Beatty start off at third base, but these guys like Jose Iglesias, seasoned vet, is definitely going to be in the mix in terms of maybe even grabbing one of those last bench spots and pushing his way onto some playing time and getting some innings if Brett Beatty doesn't figure it out. Now, we'll talk about Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos here in just a second, but I just want to point out that we do have the box score. Nimmo putting a good swing on a couple balls, getting a double. Francisco Lindor pull side double today. Alonso opposite field double. And Darren is saying it perfectly here in the chat. Alonso hitting the ball to right field. We've seen this approach with these Mets batters. Nimmo today, Alonso today, and many, many more instances of these opposite field hits. And that's something that the broadcast today was alluding to, the fact that Eric Chavez is slowly bringing that mentality back to this lineup of hitting to all fields. Some people like it, some people don't. But if you know me and you know my thoughts and opinions on this, you know that I think elite hitters are able to take the ball where it's pitched. What is your take, Rob? Because this is becoming a common trend here in spring.
Yep, 100%. And this is my main thing. I talked about this for a while. Chris, 1 second. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
I'm
You guys
sorry.
see Rob is dedicated
Sorry.
to the grind. You're getting the New York authenticity here on the True Mets Talk podcast.
Yes, you got live coverage here. I do apologize for this.
No,
Yeah,
you're good.
with Alonso, the best Alonso is a guy that can hit the ball to right center field. That's where he's at his best. Where he can bat is 250, 260 with his 40 plus home runs and his 100 RBI lineup. The problem with the lineup last year, they were so annoyed. It was annoying how much they were considering analytics and launch angle and trying to hit for more power. A lot of these guys have natural power, at least like the Nimmos of the world. Nimmo can hit 25 home runs just naturally because he's a big guy. And he's a guy that, if he puts bat on ball, and I think that certain spots he'll look for home runs. And same thing with Alonso. If Alonso goes the other way and just gets the bat on, he's gonna do what Alonso does best: 40 plus home runs, 100 RBIs, 250 average. That's gonna make the lineup so. Chavez back in that hitting coach role, even though it's kind of they actually paid him the same just to be a hitting coach now. But it's so important, and they talked about too much information. That was an issue last year. A little bit less information and a little bit more actual, guess what, baseball that can actually win you ball games. And I think that's what the lineup's going to be doing, and it's proof of it early on in spring training.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. When these guys are at their peak, right? Eric Chavez is at his peak as a hitting coach alongside these guys. We'll see what that role looks like alongside Jeremy Barnes in that hitting coach duty. But this is something that I like to see early and often. Forget the result 5-4 against the Yankees. We don't care about the wins and losses right now. We care about the processes. And that's something that I've been talking about with guys like Mark Vientos and Brett Beatty, is their process here in spring training. Shout out to Darren with that comment, and shout out to Ricardo saying Adams has looked really good this spring. I wasn't aware he can top out at 95 miles per hour on the gun. Shout out to you, Ricardo and Darren, both channel members on the chat. I appreciate you. Shout out to you all. Thank you for the support. I do owe you gentlemen some t-shirts as well. So make sure you hit my line, whether it's via email or whether it's on social media on X or Instagram. We will get that taken care of. I got those for you all. All right, we got Back It Up Binge Podcast saying hello, gents, checking into the stream. Mr. Nobody saying Zach Short is a local boy here. Give him a shot. And Carlos Ortiz is also checking into the stream. I appreciate you all. Hit that thumbs up on the stream. I definitely appreciate it. Like I said, this is an impromptu stream. Rob's out and about. He's giving us the full New York experience while on the streets, and I am in the hotel room getting ready to travel here. We are doing this as best as we can, so I appreciate the patience. Toward the end of the stream, we're going to have a special announcement for you all about some content coming up this season on the channel, on both of our channels. Here's some collab work, but I want to talk about this here just for a second. just give our brief overviews here. Thoughts on this third base quote unquote competition, Brett Baty versus Mark Vientos, because it just seems like both of these guys are still waiting to hit their overall strides. Both hitting 167, but I'm not concerned about what the batting average says. Rob, what is your general take on this third base competition, quote unquote competition between Brett Baty and Mark Vientos so far? Give me your Spark Notes version, and then we'll move on to some more important topics.
Well, it's definitely a snail's pace competition. As of right now, would you be confident in giving anybody the third base job? I not any of these two guys, and that's why Ricardo made a great point. Like, there's no guarantee that these two guys are going to be actually a part of the roster opening day because it just does not make sense at this moment. And again, if they don't prove it, I don't want it. I don't want them on this team because what are they going to do? They're going to suck and kill the bottom of the lineup. And then we're going to start complaining about these guys who everybody wanted the kids to play. And now when the kids are playing and they're not playing well, they're going to call for their heads. And in my opinion, nobody has this job right now. And if it has to be a Joey Wendell, a Iglesias, or a Short, I have no problem with it because I think Alvarez and the core four that we already have, I think it's more than enough to do the job. And with Marte being healthy, you see how good Marte has looked in spring so far. I don't think it's much of an issue with these two guys. It would just make the lineup extremely better if they actually, hit major league pitching. But right now, in my opinion, guys, I really think that Vientos and Beatty, I would send them both to the minor leagues, to be honest with you. Give somebody else a shot.
Really?
Yep, 100%.
Really? Ooh, that is a hot take. I'm not sure I'm going to agree with that one because I do think that we will see both these guys. I can't go back on what I said on the channel already. These guys, I don't think are going to the minor leagues, but they have not been impressive. I like the swings that I'm starting to see just a little bit, teeny bit more from Brett Baty, obviously hitting the ball hard for a single today, and then a fly out. Thank goodness, because we all know the thing that he struggles with the most is beating the ball into the ground. But nonetheless, Rob, the consensus of them still needing to step up here. Obviously, we got about just a little over 3 weeks until opening day. That's a very interesting take. We'll see how it plays out. So Rob thinks both of these guys to the minor leagues. What do you all think, chat? I want to get the chat's thoughts and opinions here as we are doing this live stream on what you all think. But in terms of, and speaking of the minor leagues, we do have some roster cuts for the Mets. Obviously, this is coming 2 days late. I've been on travel, haven't been able to get up on stream or do a podcast. I know you released a pre-recorded episode on your channel about these roster cuts. You see the guys that were reassigned to the minor league camp. I do believe if they were reassigned, we are still able to see them in Grapefruit League action, whereas opposed to optioning straight up to AAA like Luis Angel Cunha and Colton Ingram, we will not be able to see them again this spring, if I have that correct. This is coming directly from Tim Britton on X. What do you think this means? Were you surprised about any of these guys going back down? Because honestly, I wasn't. But the main name that we don't see on here right now, Rob, is our boy Alex Ramirez. He survived those first round of cuts. What do you think about?
Yeah, our boy Alex Ramirez, 100%, man. I'm telling you. Listen, I think he can actually make probably. I don't think he's going to make the roster, unfortunately, in my opinion. He should. But listen, I do think that he's very capable of getting a spot, especially if somebody falters like a DJ Stewart. Why not? So it's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, with the roster cuts that first happened, I expected a lot of them. A lot of the top prospects, I understood. You give them a little bit more playing time when you give when you give a lot of the players. Sorry about that. A lot of the players, when it comes to the roster, when you think of the roster projections, you know that a lot of these guys are going to get cut and just go to minor league camp because they give them a lot more playing time. So I think that's the important thing. But Alex Ramirez, man, I'm telling you, we talked about this in the roster projections. He has looked great, and
Yes.
I think that if he's not one of the final cuts, he might sneak in on this roster because if like a DJ Stewart or somebody else, maybe an injury, if something like that happens, you can see Alex Ramirez being the one that's going to be very interesting to see who's going to make those final cuts or that final roster spot will be very interesting. Sorry, Chris, I might have to go in like 5 minutes. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good here. We're honestly going to be wrapping up here in the next 5 minutes. Anyways, I wanted to get your take on Jeff McNeil because obviously we haven't seen him recently. He's got the bicep soreness. I believe Carlos Mendoza confirming that he will be going and playing in some minor league action as well here soon. But he is still sort of lingering with that. I believe it's a partial tear of the UCL that he's able to play through. He got medically cleared going back to the tail end of 2023. Something with that elbow. I have to go back and look at the official diagnosis of the situation, but he is going to be coming back soon. We haven't seen Jeff McNeil. Are you worried that we haven't seen Jeff McNeil yet, or do you think this is just all precautionary? What do you think about Jeff McNeil?
I hope it's precautionary, but I'm not liking what I'm hearing. Though I know he's building himself back up, but he's a guy that's a good year, bad year, bad year, good year, and this is supposed to be the good year for him. And if he's gonna start a little late and not really see a lot of live pitching and get into games, would anybody be shocked if McNeil is not in the lineup on opening day? Because you can't hurt this lineup. Now I don't think he's gonna be at the top of the lineup, to be honest with you. Even if he is on the team, I think he's going to be batting sixth or seventh.
Right.
I would be shocked. I think Marte is going to be in that number 2 spot, as you've seen him in spring today. I do think Jeff McNeil. I'm really worried because he had a bad year last year, and now with the injury, I mean, I don't know what to take from him. If he was performing well in spring or bad in spring, but healthy, I would say, all right, well, we'll see how it goes. But because he hasn't really got a lot of reps, a lot of games in, a lot of at bats, I don't know. It's hard to predict what you're going to get out of Jeff McNeil, and we all know a good start for this team is crucial in April. Because if not, you're going to hear a lot of bluebirds in Citi Field for sure, and I'll be one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you. And Carlos is asking us, isn't McNeil hurt? He is still recovering. He has some bicep soreness to that arm. He still does have something partially torn in his arm, but he did receive the go-ahead to play this season, even without getting that surgery to sort of mitigate that injury. We're going to keep an eye out on Jeff McNeil because, like I said, having a down last year and coming into this camp not fully healthy is something that I don't know. We'll just have to see how it progresses, right? Because it could be a crapshoot with these sort of things. He needs to get the reps, and we need to see a larger sample size from Jeff McNeil. But it is a little bit worrisome for me. But we'll see when he gets back to action how he looks. It's unfortunate because the Mets threw out their A lineup today without Jeff McNeil, of course. Zach Short playing in his place. Let's see here. I know you got to get going soon, and I don't want to disturb you in terms of what you got going on today. I appreciate you even making this stream happen given the circumstances, but I just wanted to officially announce to everybody in the chat. We got Kendrick checking in here in the chat. Depressed Mr. Met, Jeff, Darren is in the chat. Carlos is in the chat. We got an announcement to make because this season, starting in 2024, directly on day one, opening day, we are going to be introducing the Amazing Mets pregame show live with your boys, Rob and CP, going live pregame before each game, schedule permitting. Rob, I just wanted to get your take on this. What is the plan here with this? Tell the people what we got going on because this is going to be a dope collaboration, a little bit of Mets preview action all 2024 long.
Absolutely, absolutely. And listen, collaboration is key, especially for similar content creators that exactly with us with the Mets. I think it's important to have collaborations and to have a show almost every day with the same 2 guys, me and you, and of course occasionally with scheduling, we'll see how it goes. But during the 2024 season, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this pregame show. We're gonna, depending, maybe opening day we'll do an hour, a half hour, depending on how it goes. But we're definitely gonna get right into everything pregame show related. Pitching matchups, lineups, keys to the game, keys to the series. Everything that you expect from a pregame show is what me and Chris are going to give you throughout the season. And hopefully it's a very good season. Hopefully it's a long season. And hopefully we're getting some playoff pregame shows just for us, because that would be crucial for us to just have an outstanding show. Even during the bad times, we can have a great show. But during the good times, the shows are the best. So make sure, guys, to check in every day when the Mets are playing, pregame, no matter when it is, before the game, half hour before, 20 minutes before. Mets pregame show, the Amazing Mets pregame show with me and CP. You're going to love it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I cannot wait for this collaboration talking Mets before each and every game. Schedule permitting, whether we go live for 20 minutes to talk about the upcoming game and the series, or whether we go live an hour before, or maybe even 2 hours before, we are going to be there for you all before each game more often than not. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, subscribing, commenting. I appreciate all the sort of input that I get from you all on each stream. It means a lot to me. Like I said, I appreciate you, Mr. Nobody. We are pre-gaming. That is right. And Carlos, I appreciate you shouting out the graphics here. Rob does a great job with those, and we can't wait to provide you all even better content this upcoming season. Like I said, this live stream was very impromptu. I wanted to get some content for you all. I know I've been quiet on the channel the last couple of days. As you can see, it's a struggle with scheduling. Rob's out and about. I'm in a hotel room with shaky Wi-Fi, but we make it happen for you all, especially after a nice spring training. Mets win 5-4 over the Yankees. Last topic, Rob. I know you got to go here soon, and I appreciate your time. We do have some news around the league. Lucas Giolito could miss all of 2024 with the partial UCL tear, a guy that the Mets were highly coveting this offseason. Matt Chapman is going from the Blue Jays over to the Giants, and we have Zach Wheeler signing an extension, the highest extension of all time of any player for $42 million a year. Do you have anything to say on any of these topics here that we've seen over the last couple of days? And obviously, we'll get into all these topics a little bit more when we are in our respective setups here for the stream.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler surprised me a lot. What is it, over 40? What is it, 44, $45 million per
I think it's
year?
around 42, but yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I like Zach Wheeler, but not for $42 million. But I do have to say, Lucas Giolito, it was one of the guys that I was really wanting for the Mets prior to what they actually did. But that's a big blow. I like Lucas Giolito. I think he's a pretty solid pitcher. That's unfortunate, but that hurts the Red Sox, so it doesn't really hurt the Mets, which is a good thing. Matt Chapman, I looked at the Giants lineup. They got a really nice lineup. If those guys
Right.
stay healthy, they can be a dangerous lineup. Now, I don't really think they have a lot of pitching, but their lineup is extremely good. And I think the Giants, I'm not going to say they're going to win a ton of games because they do got the Dodgers and the Padres in that and the Diamondbacks in their respected division, but it's going to be very interesting because the Lucas Giolito thing, the Red Sox weren't really going to go anywhere most likely, but it's unfortunate because he was a guy that I think could have had a really nice bounce back season. Zach Wheeler, again, he had a 3.5 ERA last year, so I wouldn't really call him an ace. But it pulls the strings of our hearts as Met fans. The last screw you from the Wilpons to the Met fans was the Zach Wheeler not even offering him a contract with Brody Van Wagenen. So unfortunately for all of us, Zach Wheeler's not a Met, and we got to face him a couple of times a year. But it's some unfortunate news for, I guess, the Mets and I guess for Lucas Giolito.
And Zach Wheeler was never coming back to the New York Mets. I know a lot of Mets fans were holding out hope. I don't think there was any way, even if he did hit free agency, that he was going to go ahead and come back to the Mets, especially after what happened. I know different regimes, but even still, nonetheless, 35 years old, I think the Mets are trying to get younger on that front. I will say the stats that he's been putting up ever since he was a Philly has been pretty decent. I know you said 3.5 ERA last season, but the seasons before that have been pretty elite for him. But even still, I got some pushback on X saying that $42 million for Zach Wheeler is kind of crazy. I had some people coming after me telling me that he's the cream of the crop, which he very may well be. But for $42 million, I know everyone wants to compare Scherzer's contract with the Mets, Justin Verlander's contract with the Mets, but that's crazy money from anybody. But good for Zach Wheeler, familiar face nonetheless. Listen, guys, we're going to be out of here just shortly here. We just want to recap here 5-4 Mets win today against the Yankees here on the ESPN broadcast. The in-game interviews. I know a lot of people don't like it. I think it's okay. I just wish they asked better questions. But nonetheless, we had Harrison Bader, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor on the mic, and much, much more. Tyler McGill had a great game. Drew Smith turns in a scoreless inning. Phil Bickford, I'm not expecting much of at all this season, so it doesn't really matter, but it's nice to see the bullpen depth, Sean Reed-Foley and Austin Adams coming alive here in spring, and the offense showed up today. Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, and Beatty all having hits. We're still waiting for Beatty or Vientos to grab the bull by the horns. I do think Rob thinks they might start off in minor leagues. I think that they're definitely going to be with the big club, but this is a conversation we're definitely going to be keep happening and keep having as this spring training progresses over the next 3 weeks until opening day. So keep an eye out on those. Let's keep an eye on the transactional roster sort of situations that we have between now and then as this roster keeps getting cut and dwindled down to that 25, 26 man roster before opening day. This has been the True Mets Talk Spring Training Live edition. Like I said, I'm going to be traveling back home. I'll be in my normal setup this week to give you all a little bit more of, I guess, better, more established content. We're doing this on the fly today. Rob's not in his respective setup as well. So we want to give the people what you all want. And like I said, I appreciate Ricardo and Darren for the support on the channel. And I appreciate everybody in the comments section today for the support on the channel. Become a channel member today. You get special emojis in the live stream. I definitely appreciate it. The We Bleed Orange and Blue. You get a free CP New York Sports long sleeve t-shirt that I will send directly to you at no extra cost. So I appreciate that. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, commenting your thoughts and opinions, and subscribing not only to mine, but Talking Mets with Rob's channel. If you're not somehow subscribed to his channel, link's going to be in the description down below. Final words, Rob, as you're out and about, final words for the stream.
Yes, as I, show the rough streets of New York as I'm in this stupid dealership right now, and I finally got my car, and I'm saying bye to my baby that I had for 8 years. So it's about time. Unfortunately, I got to get my Mets stickers brand new for my new car. But listen,
Yeah.
guys, I do appreciate everybody dealing with my situation right now. My setup wasn't the perfect setup, but we do what we can do here, and we try to do the best we can every single day with the Mets content. But Chris, it's always a pleasure. Again, anytime, I'll always be on if I can. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. Again, the amazing Mets pregame show right when the season starts. Me and Chris are gonna hold it down for you guys, and don't miss it. Tell your friends, and everybody have a great day. Hit that thumbs up button, guys, and let's go Mets.
Hit that thumbs up. Let's go Mets. And as Rob was saying, the amazing Mets pregame show live starting in 2024. The collab you do not want to miss. Mets win. Spring training game 5-4 over the New York Yankees. It has been your boy CP with my guy Talking Mets with Rob. We are out. Peace. Let's go Mets.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.